Greetings, dear listeners. Welcome to No Man's Land. In this episode, we will be talking about independence and freedom as two ideas that seem so similar but are yet so very different. I am sure all of us have used the words independence and freedom as synonyms and as words or concepts that complement each other. You are not wrong, but have you ever wondered what the difference between the two is? Or have you ever thought if being independent truly means being free? We celebrated our 78th Independence Day recently. For those listening in other countries, 15th of August each year is celebrated as Independence Day of India, as we became independent from the British Crown on this day in 1947. Even for our country, we use these words interchangeably. However, both independence and freedom are different. Otherwise, why would we need a constitution at all? Or moreover, why would we need to enshrine certain freedoms through our constitution if we are already independent? Let us discuss how they are both different concepts and bring different things to the table. We will also learn about how they complement each other to form a truly free state or a democracy. We will begin by understanding each of these concepts individually. Independence essentially originates from ability. The lack of ability is the cause of dependence. In political terms, it pertains to the state of being self-governing and free from external control. It is about autonomy and the ability to make decisions without interference from others. Independence typically signifies the end of colonial or foreign rule and the establishment of self-rule. There are 5 types or forms of independence according to our general observation: political, physical, financial or economic, psychological, and emotional. Political independence, as we are all aware, simply stands for self-rule or sovereignty over all matters and affairs, both internal and external, of a state. It is as simple as that. Physical independence is when you do not need external help from either another human or an animal or a machine to carry out basic tasks on a day-to-day basis. Financial independence, as we all know, pertains to an individual's ability to afford their both basic and other requirements for sustenance on their own, without having to borrow money from any other party. Moreover, it also includes that the person may possess enough money and assets that grow his or her money, even without that person having to work for it, thereby being able to keep up and maintain their lifestyle as long as they live. Psychological independence comes when a person is able to develop his own thought process, ideas, opinions, perspectives, and is able to carry out his thinking without others' assistance or overarching influence. And ultimately, emotional independence is achieved when one's emotional well-being or emotional health is not dependent on others' actions or emotional availability, or when one does not seek external validation to feel as they want to, or when one is content with themselves. Therefore, if an individual, group, or state has these 5 aspects of independence, they are as independent as can be. Of course, no matter how independent we are as a species, we are always interdependent on each other for our needs. Moreover, we are also influenced by nature and its forces. Even if one becomes completely independent, it is meaningless unless that gives one the freedom stemming from that independence. Therefore, independence gives birth to freedom. Moreover, if independence is the body, then freedom is the soul that is contained in it and gives it meaning. Hence, one needs to be independent in order to be free. The Constitution of India, from Articles 19 through 22, enshrines the following freedoms as fundamental rights. First, freedom of speech and expression and the right to publish and share information. Second, freedom to assemble peacefully or the ability to hold public meetings, processions, or assemble without arms. Third, the freedom to form social, cultural, economic, or political associations or unions. Fourth, the freedom to move around freely within the territory of India. Fifth, freedom to reside and settle in any part of India. And sixth is the freedom to practice a profession, occupation, trade, or business. These freedoms are naturally only valid as long as these practices do not compromise national interest or violate the nation's laws, and above all, affect national, local, or regional security within the territory of India. Without these freedoms, our independence would only be partial or incomplete. So how is it different? Independence provides the structural framework necessary for a nation to function autonomously. It allows a country to set its own policies, control its resources, and determine its path without external interference. However, independence alone is not sufficient for progress. While independence is more tangible and material, freedom is more intangible and abstract. Even more, it is all-encompassing in all aspects of our life. Right, so we achieved and earned our independence through decades of struggle, fights, mutinies, and revolution, both armed and peaceful, in the August of 1947 from the British Crown. I request you to remember this phrase, earning freedom, as we will talk about it later in the episode. Independence ended nearly 2 centuries of exploitation, oppression, and systematic dismantling of Indian society, ending with a bloody partition that gave birth to 2 new nations from India as we know them today. We did attain independence, but did we truly get the freedom we were looking for? To answer this, let's backdate a little. Starting around the 11th century, India faced numerous invasions, beginning with the Mahmud of Ghazni, followed by the Delhi Sultanate and later the Mughal Empire. These invasions and the subsequent establishment of foreign rule led to significant cultural, religious, and political changes in the Indian society. The British East India Company gradually established control over large parts of India in the 18th and 19th centuries. By the mid-19th century, after the suppression of the 1857 revolt, the British Crown took direct control, leading to the establishment of the British Raj. The Raj systematically deindustrialized India by dismantling traditional industries such as textiles and imposing economic policies that favored British industries. This led to widespread poverty, unemployment, and economic dependency. Systems and policies like zamindari and ryotwadi, introduced by the British, further entrenched economic exploitation, leading to landlessness and increased economic distress among the peasantry. Alongside these atrocities, the prolonged subjugation and the systematic imposition of foreign cultures, languages, and values led to a widespread sense of cultural inferiority among Indians. The belief that Western culture and civilization were superior became ingrained in many sections of the society, and it still exists. The introduction of Western education by the British aimed to create a class of Indians who were, I quote, English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect, I unquote, as stated by Thomas Macaulay. This led to the erosion of traditional knowledge systems and a sense of inferiority among Indians regarding their own culture. This further led to a loss of identity among many Indians as traditional practices, languages, and customs were viewed as backward or outdated. Indigenous knowledge systems, including Ayurveda, Khagol Vigyan or astronomy, and Ganit or mathematics, were undermined or marginalized in the favor of Western knowledge or the Western counterparts of these studies, thereby creating a disconnect between us and our rich intellectual heritage. We began to see and evaluate ourselves through the eyes of the colonizers. From our railways to our laws, from our army to the system of civil services, it is all a part of colonial heritage. This phenomenon, known as colonial mentality, resulted in lack of confidence in our own abilities and a reliance on foreign validation. Even today, we continue to look up to the West for validation and approval in various fields from education to culture. We borrow not just practices and values and beliefs from the West, but also art forms. Being rich in traditional art forms ourselves, it is a pity that we even copy movies and music from the West, as it is very often. The rap culture or the Western dressing style is considered more formal and is more widely accepted. Isn't it a shame that on the 18th of July this year, an elderly man was stopped by the security and denied entry at Bengaluru's GT Mall because he was wearing a dhoti? It is also food for thought to evaluate how many of us even feel encouraged to wear traditional dresses to our workplaces or when we go outside, say at malls. Arguments about comfort aside, these occurrences expose our deep-seated inferiority complex and lack of national self-esteem stemming from an identity crisis. It is quite evident how we have been psychologically made to feel wrong about who we are as a people. Why, even after 78 years of independence, is English the primary official language of our country? We need to take pride in our native languages and not feel ashamed to communicate in them publicly. Yes, it will take more effort to get it across to a larger audience, but extraordinary feats also require extraordinary efforts. All of this means we are not really psychologically free. Though the colonizers handed over our sovereignty to us, we are only politically independent. We are still not free from the shackles of the Western ideas that germinated during the colonial period. But how did it happen? And how did we get here? It happened because of the lack of knowledge of our Sanskriti, cultures and scriptures. Almost no one today is interested in learning our Sanskriti, as it is simply not lucrative enough, or there are simply very marginal opportunities to grow in the field in both India and worldwide. This has led not just India but other countries as well to follow suit of the Western world, which is at the top of the economic ladder. But how did it start? This started with the destruction of our Sanskriti. Our scriptures were distorted through Orientalist interpretations and translations by Western scholars such as William Jones and Charles Wilkins during the colonial period. Scriptures were misinterpreted with Orientalist biases to portray Indian culture and religion as inferior or primitive. Moreover, we were labeled as superstitious. This was part of a broader colonial strategy to justify their rule by depicting that we needed to be civilized. Max Muller too translated our scriptures with a Eurocentric approach. These translations often misunderstood and misrepresented the original meanings, leading to a distorted view of Indian culture and religion. For example, when our scriptures tell us कि हमारे 33 कोटि देवी देवता हैं, it doesn't mean that there are 33 crore deities in the Sanatan Dharma or in the Hindu culture. It means that there are 33 types of deities. After collecting information from different scriptures like the Rig Veda, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Puran, Srimad Vishnu Puran, and ultimately the Brihadraranya Upanishad, we have understood that they are as follows. There are 12 Adityas who are manifestations of the sun or Surya and represent different aspects of solar energy. They are considered as personifications of the different months of the year. Mitra, Varun, Aryaman, Bhag, Ansh, Daksh, Indra, Savitra, Tvashtra, Vishnu, Pushan, and Vivasvat. Next, the 8 Vasus are deities associated with natural elements and cosmic phenomenon. They are Dyaus, the sky, Prithvi, earth, Vayu, wind, Agni, fire, Nakshatra, stars, Varun, water, Som, the moon, and Aditya, the sun. Further, the 11 Rudras are forms of Shiva. They are fierce deities associated with storms, destruction, and the dissolution of the universe. They are linked to the different aspects of Lord Shiva. Aja, Ekpad, Ahir Budhyan, Tvast, Rudra, Har, Shambhu, Trayambaka, Aparajit, Ishan, and Tribhuvan. And ultimately, the 2 Ashwins or Ashwini Kumars, the twin divine horsemen who are considered physicians of the gods, known for their youth, beauty, and swiftness. They are Nasatya and Dasra. These are the 33 types of deities which constitute the 33 Koti Devi Devata. Indra and Prajapati are considered the chief deities, with Indra being the king of the gods and ruler of the heavens associated with rain and thunderstorms, and Prajapati, the lord of creation, associated with Brahma, who is responsible for the creation of life. This classification of 33 deities is symbolic and serves to represent the complex and vast nature of divine powers in the cosmos. Each category encompasses specific aspects of existence, from the physical elements to the spiritual forces, and reflects the intricate interplay of these forces in Hindu cosmology. Isn't this information rich and deep? And this is only a very small part of our culture and its studies. However, this misinterpretation has not only misguided people from other countries about our civilization, but most of us here in India as well. This, in part, helped them place a wedge to divide us on the basis of who we worship and mock us for having so many deities. It was a systematic breakdown of national morale and self-esteem. Now that we have understood how our culture was undermined, let's take a look at what we have done about it and what we need to do going ahead. Modern India is witnessing a resurgence of interest in its ancient wisdom, with efforts to revalidate and reinterpret traditional knowledge in a contemporary context. There is a growing movement to promote indigenous knowledge systems such as Ayurveda, Yoga, and classical Indian arts both within India and globally. Project Udbhav, which is an initiative of the Indian Army and United Service Institution, is an annual event that hosts scholars, thinkers, and military experts and strategists who come together to rediscover the rich Indian military heritage of statecraft and strategic thought derived from ancient Indian texts on statecraft, warfare, diplomacy, and grand strategy. Efforts are being made to preserve and promote regional languages, traditional arts, and cultural practices that were marginalized during colonial rule. The new education policy of 2020 mandates that students must be taught in school in their mother tongue up to class 5, and then have an option to learn any one of the 22 scheduled languages in India. The policy also emphasizes the importance of integrating Indian knowledge systems and values into the modern education system. Finally, in 2023, the new criminal laws, which are the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, and the Bharatiya Saksha Adhiniyam, were brought in by the government to finally mend the pre-existing laws to Indianize them as they are better suited to the local Indian contexts, requirements, and realities. Centuries of foreign rule, particularly the colonial period, had a profound impact on India's mind and self-esteem. However, there has been a significant effort to reclaim and revive our rich heritage and cultural identity in the post-independence era. Understanding and addressing the psychological impacts of historical oppression is crucial for India as it continues its journey towards becoming a true Vishwaguru. Recognizing and valuing our heritage while critically examining the distortions introduced by colonial interpretations will help in restoring a sense of pride and confidence that was lost over centuries of oppression, paving the way for a more holistic and self-assured national identity. The challenges we face today are also in the form of social inequality, economic disparities, and issues like corruption, political polarization, and challenges to the freedom of press that raises concerns about the quality of our political freedom. Moreover, the crime against women is another ironic and shameful aspect of the country's current state, well, for a nation from where the concept of Devi finds its genesis. The culture in which we worship our mothers, sisters, and daughters, and even call Bharat our Mata. Yet, each day we hear at least 2 new cases of sexual violence or rape against women. And this are the numbers that are only reported. This is the land in which wars were waged to protect the dignity of women. The whole of Lanka was turned to ashes to protect the dignity of Mata Sita. And the battle of Mahabharat was fought at Kurukshetra after the Chirharan of Draupadi. Shri Ram and Shri Krishna fought against the violation of women's dignity. And we need to wake up and make changes in our demeanor of dealing with violence against women of all forms. We need stricter laws of punishment and prevention of such crimes, and at the same time educate men in the society and instill a sense of respect and responsibility in them towards women, instead of seeing them as objects of sexual satisfaction. Women are the bearers and beacons of life. We are nothing without them. Now, as you remember, I requested you to remember the phrase freedom is earned. Well, the fact that freedom is earned and not demanded is perpetuated by colonialism and furthered by capitalism, which I believe is the modern form of colonialism only by means of economic domination. But that is a discussion for another episode. We are born free. We neither need to demand it nor earn it separately. We must command our freedom. Years of slavery and colonization has led us to think that freedom needs to be earned or snatched from someone else. And that is simply not the case. But we have surely come a long way. We have seen both breakthroughs and setbacks. We have overcome the many setbacks we faced internally and externally. But one thing is for sure, and that is the fact that we will only be able to realize our dream of becoming the Vishwaguru and the Vishwamargadarshak once we reconcile with our past and our cultural heritage, fully utilizing the knowledge and wisdom that we have received as a legacy. India today is seen as the leader of Global South, as we are spearheading the drive to bring parity between the two sections of the globe, with economic, political, and cultural equality at the international stage. Let's make this the first step in realizing our aspirations and making the world a better, more harmonious place to live in, with Bharat as a source of guidance and inspiration to others. Ancient India was a global leader in knowledge, spirituality, and culture. Figures like Chanakya, who authored the Arthashastra, and philosophers like Adi Shankaracharya and Swami Vivekanand contributed to this legacy. India's soft power, rooted in its spiritual and cultural heritage, is a critical component of its aspiration to be a global leader. We must combine our spiritual heritage with our technological and economic prowess to achieve new heights in terms of progress, development, and influence. Initiatives like Digital India and Make in India aim to position the country as a global hub for innovation and manufacturing. As the world's largest democracy, we have the potential to be a beacon of democratic values, human rights, and pluralism. The quality of our freedom and our ability to address internal and external challenges will determine our success in this role. Independence and freedom are both essential for a nation's progress. Independence provides the structural framework, while freedom ensures that the framework is filled with life and meaning. In the Arthashastra, Chanakya emphasized the importance of a strong and independent state with a capable ruler who prioritizes the welfare of the people. This is essential for any state and its citizens or subjects to be able to live freely. His ideas on statecraft, economics, and diplomacy are still relevant. For India, the pursuit of becoming the Vishwaguru and the Vishwamargadarshak requires a holistic approach that combines its spiritual heritage with modern advancements grounded in the principles of independence and freedom. We are born free but completely dependent. As we grow old, we become increasingly independent but often equally unfree. Let's discuss why this is and what we can do about it. Moreover, we will discuss what freedom truly is in the next episode. It is actually intriguing and even mind-bending. So follow the channel and sit tight for our next episode on freedom. I hope this episode enriched you and provided value while boosting your self-esteem as a proud Bharatiya. We sincerely hope to see you in the next one. Thank you for listening. Jai Hind.